Not telling my boyfriend I own the building we live in. When I was 18, my dad gifted me a house with 2 stories. I am extremely thankful. We are not upper class, but my dad bought this house for a cheap price a long time ago. It was his grandmother's cousin's house. I know that this was an extreme privilege and I am forever grateful for this. The layout of this building is like an apartment, but it is a house. So basically, each story has its own separate entry, its own kitchen and bathroom. I live upstairs while I rent out the downstairs. My boyfriend 25M moved in with me about 3 months ago, and we have been together for 6 months. I have not asked him for money, neither for utilities or to pay me any rent. The only thing he contributes to is groceries, that we split 50-50. I have not brought up that I own the building as it is not something I tell many people. If people ask me, I of course tell them that I own it, but if they just assume I am a renter, then they can believe that. The topic of a landlord, the renter downstairs or the owner of the building has not been something we have talked about. This last Tuesday the renter came up to tell me that her freezer has stopped working. I answered the door and my boyfriend heard us talking, I suppose. I went downstairs to take a look and we came to the conclusion that she would buy a new one, send me the receipt and I would give her the money. She was very grateful for this solution. When I went upstairs my boyfriend asked if it could be fixed. I told him no, but she was going to buy a new one and I would pay for it. He looked at me like I was crazy and asked me why the hell I would pay for her freezer. I told him that because I am her landlord and the freezer was there when she started renting, I would stand for the cost. He just asked me if I was serious, to which I said I was. He began screaming at me, asking him why the hell I would hold this information from him and that I was an evil person. I said I was sorry for not telling him, but I did not think that it would matter. He said he could not believe he was together with someone who is a landlord, that all of us just use people for money and that the only thing we people care about is money and would rather have people be homeless than offering affordable rent. The downstairs is 1 kitchen, 1 bath and 4 other rooms. I charge $500 in rent. I understand many people have had trouble with landlords, but I try my best to be a good one. He demanded that I give him 50% of the money I make from rent or else I was just as bad as he thought. Was I really the a-hole for not telling him? He has not talked to me since Tuesday and I have tried telling him that I am truly sorry, but he doesn't answer me at all. Comment 1. Let me get this straight. He must not have offered to pay half of the rent, because then it would have come up and you would have told him, right? He is living with you rent-free. Up to now, he thought you were paying the entire rent. On what planet does he deserve half of the tenant's rent money? Please reconsider this relationship. NTA. OP comment. No, he did not offer to pay for any of the rent. If he offered, I would have explained to him that I own the building. In hindsight, I should have told him that it was my building that he would be living in with me even if he did ask or not. I think that his outburst really showed how he was. I thought about breaking up with him but also thought I was maybe overthinking it. If it comes to that, at least I learned something for future relationships. Comment 2. NTA. He showed his true colors at give me half the money or you're just as bad as any other landlord. If he actually thought you renting out the lower half of the building was morally reprehensible, the ultimatum would be stop charging the person downstairs rent or offer to sell the downstairs unit to them or even donate the profit to charities that help people secure stable housing. But no, he only actually cares that he didn't know about this stream of income, and now he wants in. Refusing to make it up to my stepsister after bringing up her dead father who I didn't know was dead? I, 20F, have a stepsister, Jane 18F, who I have known for 7 years. We've had our ups and downs, but ultimately, she's family and I would never want to intentionally hurt her. One thing she does a lot during arguments with her mum is say, well, Dad would let me do X or maybe I'll go stay with Dad then. I never met her dad. I've seen him a few times but I was never properly introduced to him. Him and Lucy, my stepmum, had a bad breakup and she didn't want him to met my mum or me, which I can understand given what she's told me about him. For the past week, Jane had been even more irritable than usual. I tried talking to her but she shut me out. Lucy and Mum told me she'd come around and not to pry. I found out a few days ago that she had been using my expensive skincare and had almost emptied a bottle that takes me 5 months to finish, in a week. As well as using, and almost emptying, all my other skincare stuff. I was pissed and confronted her, telling her to replace it. She started crying and getting angry at me. She said I was being an annoying cunt for chasing her up on face wash and that I need to leave her alone. I will admit, we both said harmful things which I regret, and I ended up saying, "Why don't you go live with your dad since he'll let you off?" Jane's face dropped and she said, "My dad died last week, you cunt." She ran and locked herself in her room after she said that, and I immediately regretted what I said. Shortly after, Lucy and Mum came home and I explained what had happened. They both said I needed to apologize, which I agreed with. Lucy went to talk to Jane and afterwards told me Jane would only forgive me if I was grounded until the new year and she had free range of my wardrobe. She loves my style but can't afford to buy clothes to fit it at the moment. I said no to both. I didn't bring up her dad as a gotcha, he's dead moment, as I didn't know he had passed. Obviously, if I had known, I wouldn't have said anything about it and would have treated her outbursts/change in behavior differently, because I know now she was grieving. Lucy and Mum then said if I won't do those things, I should at least drive her around to her friends, university, etc. I again said no. We both go to different universities and the logistics won't work. Lucy said if I can't make it up to Jane, I shouldn't expect her to forgive me. I said I don't need Jane's sisterhood if it's only based on transactional things like car rides or clothes. Jane is fuming with me, and Lucy and Mum think I'm being petty and difficult for not even attempting to patch things up with Jane. I don't expect her to forgive me straight away, as that's not how humans work, but no apology would suffice, as she doesn't want an apology, she wants my things. So as it stands, it's 3 against 1. And everyone at home thinks I'm a huge a-hole. Comment 1. NTA. It's time to stop apologizing and go on the offensive. Why the F did nobody mention this to you beforehand? You had clearly mentioned that she was shutting you out to Lucy, but you were told she'd come around when she was acting out because her dad just died. Your response, which was to apologize, was frankly a bit doormat. Why? If I were you, I'd have gotten angry at Lucy for not telling you what happened, or at the very least not informing you that Jane was going through a difficult time. You shouldn't apologize for not knowing information that was intentionally withheld from you. I'd consider that to be such a large lie of omission that it's practically malicious. You were basically set up to be the bad guy so that Jane could then use you as her emotional punching bag. Comment 2. I'm gonna come down on the NTA side here. You literally didn't know her dad was dead, and as it's a frequent theme for her to invoke him, it wasn't an out-of-left-field thing to bring up during an argument. She was using your products without permission, for which you have every right to be upset with her. I think it's fair to want an apology from you, for hurting her like that. It was a low blow, even if it was an accidental one. She also owes you an apology for stealing your stuff, Toe. I think you seem pretty even, and she's milking it to try to get perks from you. Calling my sister-in-law pathetic during a family dinner? My fiancé, Chris, 24M, is the youngest in his family with 2 older siblings, a brother, 31M, and a sister, 29F. I, also 24M, have one sister who is 9 years younger than me. I don't put much stock into the whole your birth order determines your entire personality thing, but I do think it might enhance traits we already have. I've always naturally been a pretty quiet, even-tempered, nurturing kind of guy. I think I would still be all those things regardless. Having a little sister when I did just amplified them. Meanwhile, Chris was very much the baby of his family. He wasn't spoiled, just taken care of in the same way my sister is. I've known Chris's family since we were 16. I've never personally had any problems with them, but I did witness a few fights between him and his sister over the years. The fights were always about Chris being a golden child and either getting more privileges/attention than she did, or getting similar privileges earlier in life. I stayed out of it as this was between the two of them. I didn't see the point in stepping into family dynamics like that, especially since I would have been a minor at the time arguing with a woman in her 20s. This past Thursday night, we left on a weekend trip with his family. We left pretty late Thursday. We had already been driving for a few hours, and Chris gets hot/uncomfortable pretty easily, so he wasn't feeling too great. His dad went through a drive-through, and as we were sitting in the parking lot eating, I asked if there was anything I could do to make him more comfortable. He had forgotten to unbuckle his own seatbelt, so I did it for him and just told him to relax and enjoy his food. His sister made some sort of comment about him getting coddled, but I took it as a joke and brushed past it. Fast forward to last night, while we were out at dinner, it was uncharacteristically warm in the little restaurant we chose. Chris had worn a hoodie with nothing underneath while I was wearing a t-shirt, so we went into the bathroom to switch. It wasn't a big deal until, when we sat back down, his sister said, "Looks like you're still getting the golden boy treatment, huh?" I'm usually not a confrontational person, but I was annoyed enough by the multiple comments. I said it's a little pathetic that you're almost 30 and you're still rehashing the same argument you had when Chris and I were 16 years old. She ended up going to wait in the car while we finished our meal. It's been tense since then, and while no one has brought it up, I'm not sure if I overstepped. Comment 1. I've seen the comments where you say these are not normal occurrences, but it really comes across like Chris is so used to being looked after, it's become instinctual to both of you. If he gets hot and bothered so easily, he would be the first to unbuckle his seatbelt so as to get comfortable, and he certainly wouldn't wear a hoodie with nothing underneath it. Look, if you are happy to look after him and he likes being looked after, great. But it doesn't mean sis isn't right. I'm curious, did she comment in a bitter way or it's normal teasing between siblings? ESH if it's the former. YTA if the latter. Comment 2. Your interaction with him makes it sound like you're dealing with a special needs child. I was waiting for your description of how you cut up his food for him. The sister may be snarky, but her observation about the relationship is on point. Comment 3. Was something stopping Chris from unbuckling his own seatbelt? Does he not know to wear a t-shirt under a hoodie? It does sound like he's kind of a golden boy who gets things done for him that he's perfectly capable of doing on his own. Telling my daughter that she made it clear she has no mother and having a long list she must do to move back in. I will keep the background short. I divorced my ex-husband when my daughter, Maria, was 10. I got the house but was a ZAM, so I had trouble making ends meet. So lots of budgeting after I got a job in my field again. My ex didn't have this problem and could spoil her. He spoiled her rotten, and it really affected our relationship. I would tell her I can't afford to get her a $1,000 laptop and it would cause a huge argument about how dad is better. Tried to get her a job, argument happened. When she was 17 she decided to drop from high school. I told her no. She told me it was her life and she can do what she wants. Another argument and she left to live with dad permanently. I tried to contact her multiple times but she told me I wasn't her mother anymore and leave her alone. She is now 21 and her dad has gotten remarried and basically kicked her out. She called me and we met up. She wants to move back in and I only told her only under these conditions. She needs to get her GED. She needs to be working a job at least 25+ hours a week. She needs to be looking into what her career will be and either go to a trade school or college. She won't need to pay rent but needs to buy her own stuff, like clothes and personal items. She needs to contribute to the shared areas, chores, she would refuse to do them as a kid. Finally, no partying lifestyle. She needs to focus on getting her life together, not going out every night like she used to do, save it for the weekend. She called me a crazy J and that I am a SH mother. I informed her that she made it clear she has no mother. She stormed out and I am getting texts. Comment 1. NTA. Those are reasonable requests for any 21-year-old living at home whether there is a good relationship or not. Only small piece of advice on the parting rule is if it comes to fruition, don't be completely overbearing about it. I only say this because I'm living it. I recently got divorced and moved back home. My mother is letting me live rent-free to save to buy a house. I kept my old house as an investment property. She is truly helping me and I appreciate it. However, I cracked a beer to watch a Monday night football game and she was like, "What are you doing? You work tomorrow." I'm 33, work from home, was not driving and it was one beer to watch a game. She's not against drinking either. It was just it's Monday. So like if your daughter is responsible and wants a drink and it doesn't go against health, safety, religious standards, I personally would not watch over her too closely and make her feel watched. However, I completely agree if she was trying to go out every night or something. Comment 2. NTA. I noticed that an apology isn't on the top of the list. Her dad spoiled her. Now he's off to other things. Her reaction to your requirements indicate that she doesn't want a relationship. She looking to mooch off of you and make your life hell again. Don't block her, but do ignore her texts. That kind of behavior doesn't deserve a response.
Telling my brother that the name he wants to give his child isn't okay. 17F, let's call me Rarity, which is a not super common name like my real one. Have a half-brother Curtis, 30M. He is married to Kendall, 30F. Kendall isn't related to me but shares my last name. My brother changed his name to her last name when they wed. This wasn't weird as his last name was one he had been teased for when he was younger, and he and I are close, so it was still a family name that way too. Kendall is now in her 3rd trimester of pregnancy to a baby, F. They announced that they want to name the baby Rarity. I wasn't thrilled about it and I thought that sounded like it could be confusing or something. I asked about it and if they plan on calling the baby something else like a nickname or middle name. They said they were giving her the same middle name as me, and that it would likely be obvious who is being talked about, and if not they could add the word baby in front of it. I think this is super weird and don't like it. My parents think it is sweet. I try to express my dislike for it but everyone is just upset with me for being unsupportive. Comment 1. Giving a human the prefix baby to avoid confusion is a great long-term solution. Baby Rarity will love that when she is 13. Curtis and Kendall sound like very smart people. NTA, sorry you half-brother and still seem a little dense. Comment 2. Can you try to talk to only your brother in private and ask why they want to use your full name? And once you get an explanation, if you still feel uncomfortable, tell him that you find it strange but that you support whatever name they choose, because you can't do anything about it anyway. But if you get a solid explanation you might not feel as weird about it.